Kankakee Podcast is presented by Pewter Pros, Stitch Prints, and Digital World Design family of businesses, celebrating 25 years of small business ownership in Kankakee County. Learn more at mypewterpros.com, stitchprints.com, and digitalworlddesign.com.
Thankful for the way these stories hold on to the lifetime we won't get back. I know these rivers carry people tend to stick to you after time. Places tend to do the same as we do. This river carries on and on.
Hello and welcome to Kankakee Podcast, where we talk about the people and places of Kankakee County. I'm Jake Lamore, and today is a very special episode. We are joined by the new executive director of the Kankakee County Convention and Visitors Bureau, Nicole Gavin. Welcome.
Thank you. I'm super excited to be here today.
I'm super excited to finally introduce people to the new executive director. They get to know you a little bit. And this is a great way to start, I feel like. We're here to talk about the CTAP Grants program, which stands for what?
Community Tourism Action Plan. So, or CTAP, you can...
CTAP.
CTAP, yeah.
It makes me think of the D-TAP or the series.
Oh, the shot?
The shots, yeah, the Tdap.
We are not doing injections here. So.
Well, you might want to say it's a tourism injection,
yes,
right?
There you go. Yep.
That's what we're doing.
Yes.
But I don't know. That just made me think of that. Completely random off topic.
Makes sense.
Yeah. But this is actually nothing new. This is something the Bureau's been doing for what? How long now?
Well, it was done back in 2016 into 2017. So it was investing into different tourism products for actually just the municipalities that are involved with our organization. So it was a much smaller scale. And then, we went into COVID and there was a lot of uncertainty with how everything was going to shape up, especially with tourism. So now we're in a place that we do have some funds available to reinvest into the community.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
So when it was first done, I know you were not with the organization at that time.
Correct.
Do you know what organizations or things came out of that first?
Yes.
I'm just curious to know which ones.
So City of Kankakee, they did the murals, the Finding Frank murals that are up.
Okay.
So the Frank Lloyd Wright murals.
Those are awesome.
Those were done. Yeah. So that was part of the CTAP program. We did marketing support for Bourbonnais Friendship Festival and then also wayfinding signs. Mantino, I believe they did some of their murals too, in downtown Mantino.
Yeah, there's the postcard-looking mural.
So I don't remember which ones were done.
Which ones, yeah. And then maybe it was there's the map of Mantino.
Uh-huh. That's on like the side over by the well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe that was one of them too.
Yeah.
I don't know. We need to call. I text Sarah Marion right now. She would know probably. She would probably remember because
Yes.
I know she was involved, at least in the map one. I don't remember if she was involved in the postcard one, but regardless, I think it probably was one of those or both of those. Right.
Yeah. And then support for Oktoberfest. Village of Bradley, it was beautification, benches, and just, making things look more appealing. And again, those grants were $10,000 max. So this grant process is a little bit different. And
what is it, 50?
We are starting out at $5,000 grants all the way up to $500,000.
Oh, wow. Yeah. Okay. That's a lot more than $50,000.
Yes.
Woo. So people can do some serious damage to their idea, and damage in a good way. I guess that was a bad way to put it. But
we could put a dent in it, right?
Yeah, but because you've got two different sides to this grant. It's not a one-size-fits-all.
Correct.
There's one that is product enhancement grant, and then there's actually a major investment grant, and that's the one that goes all the way up to $500,000.
Correct.
So I guess since we're talking about that, let's break that down on like the differences and what would fall into those two different categories of this grant?
So the first one will be granting anywhere from $5,000 to just shy of $25,000. And with that, we figure that's probably going to be a smaller organization or just getting started. So there's only a 25% match required for that one. So that's great. So this is available for nonprofits, for public, private organizations. I mean, basically anybody. So that's available. And then for the second one, it's anywhere from $25,000 to $500,000.
What would an investment, be like? That'd be like someone with a brand new idea, probably.
Brand new idea, expanding, like with the Riverwalk, that they're going to be putting in something like that, which is going to draw tourism for, years and years. So massive expansion there. I mean, it could be bringing back a different festival. Like we used to have that barbecue fest, or they were talking about doing like different food festivals, bringing that to the area, like a wine and beer fest. So whatever it might be, or even maybe extending a current festival, maybe something that's already 2 days, expanding it for another day, bringing in different artists that might not have the budget for at the moment.
Yes. Yeah. So just adding on to what's already there kind of deal.
Sure.
But as someone, let's say I wanted to open up a roller rink or something like that, a skating rink, roller rink. I mean, that makes me sound like I'm 80 years old. A skating rink. Would someone
meant.
Yeah, thank you. Would someone qualify for a grant to help them open up that skating rink?
That would work. So, I mean, it's going to bring tourists here, bring people from outside the area into our county. So,
And not only that, offer current residents something to do, which is a part of what the Bureau is about too.
Absolutely.
It's not just about bringing in people that don't live in the county, but it's about for the residents that live here. They might not know about certain activities or certain businesses and things like that, right?
Well, there's a lot of people that come into the county for work, but don't necessarily live in the area. So it's like now if we can show that we have a much broader things for them to do outside of work hours, then it's, let's maybe consider moving down here. So then, still driving the economic growth for the area.
And it does happen. My fiance was just telling me about someone. So my fiance was originally from Oak Lawn.
Okay.
And she ran into a friend at, I think it was Target, and he just got a job at CSL, and he's also from Oak Lawn, but he just moved here to Bourbonnais, and now he's working at CSL Bearing in Bourbonnais. Yeah. So there's a perfect example. Like that literally just happened the other day.
It's like full circle. It's like, if you build a place where people want to visit, then they're like, well, maybe we'll consider moving there, or maybe we'll consider starting a business there. And it's just...
So let's talk about, you mentioned a match. You said it was a 25%. So that means if I'm applying for either the enhancement grant or the investment grant, I submit my application. You say, okay, we're going to approve you for $100,000 or we're going to give you $100,000 for this grant. That means I have to put in 25% of that?
So for the smaller grants, the $5,000 to $24,999, that's a 25% match. So let's say, you're asking for $10,000, you would then have to match $2,500.
Okay, so technically you're awarding $7,500?
We would still award 10, but they have to put in $2,500. So,
okay, I see. And what's the reason for that? Just curious.
Basically, like if you have an idea, like you have to have some sort of I don't want to use the word skin in the game, but that's kind of like you have
collateral.
to have, have to have some
of your own money.
Yeah. This is to help you get it started or expand whatever you're trying to do. And then hopefully in years to come, like you're showing that you have some sort of business model, like how are we going to keep this going in the future? For the larger grants, it's a 50% match, just considering that they are going to be massive projects. I mean, especially if you're in the $500,000 or beyond.
Yes.
If you're looking for that type of funding, like you should have some sort of funding mechanism already in place. And this is to, again, without this grant, maybe it wouldn't happen.
And you have to show, like you said, you have to show that you're committed to it. You know, obviously, right?
Like it's not just going to be like a one-time thing and done. Like You want to have some
longevity.
Yes,
that's
correct.
the whole point of this grant, is to create some things that are going to last and enhance
Right.
the area for a long period of time.
Absolutely,
hopefully.
yeah.
Hopefully forever.
Right.
All good things, unfortunately, don't last forever. But, hopefully
Right,
a good chunk of time.
Mhm.
I guess you kind of touched on it earlier, who qualifies. Like it's literally open to almost any type of organization, whether or not they're nonprofit or for-profit.
Correct. Yep. Government, municipalities can apply, park districts, pretty much anybody that has an organization. So
What kind of questions are part of the application? What are some things that people would have to prepare for?
our full application is available on our website, so you can take a look at that or just email me and I can send it to you. But basically asking, do you have a budget for this? Like, what is your timeline for this? What does that look like? How many people do you think would attend this event or venue or whatever you're trying to do? How many out-of-town visitors do you think it would bring in? So some of this stuff is a little bit more subjective, but with the larger projects, we're assuming that you're doing some sort of feasibility study and trying to figure a lot of that out before you're investing in such a large project. How many overnight visitors we going to be seeing from that?
Because that's the whole point of this, right?
Yes.
I mean, you're wanting to get those overnight visitors to
Sure.
stay in our hotels.
Sure.
Because that in turn actually goes back into the Bureau.
Correct.
Because
Correct.
that's how the Bureau gets their funding.
Right.
So you can continue to do, it's just the recycle effect.
Yeah. So it's like, a lot of times our first touch with people is like, let's get them to the area. So they might not stay overnight, but they may spend a few hours here doing stuff. But then they're like, oh, I want to come back. So then it's a repeat visit or lengthening, staying the night in a hotel, coming back, spending time at all of our different attractions. And there's so much here that we have to offer.
What's your best piece of advice then for anyone that is considering applying or is applying? What's your best piece of advice for them, and as far as getting them the best chance possible to have some grant funding?
Sure. I think being very specific with your request, filling out the application, getting as much detail as you can. The application is going to go in front of a committee, as well as we have consultants from consulting group, a strategic planner, helping with us to determine what is most needed, what is going to benefit the area the most, and which of these projects is going to fit that too.
So are there any certain types of projects that you're already have your eye on, that you're kind of looking for, hoping that people will step forward with?
Sure.
Maybe you're...
I've gotten actually a ton of emails and phone calls and, asking should we apply for this? And I mean, anything that I think that is already thought out a little bit. Like if you are in the beginning stages of this, know that there's going to be more grant opportunities in the future. For right now, as far as projects going, I do think any additional festivals that are unique that would bring people in, I think that's going to be a huge, huge win. Again, on the river, making use of this beautiful resource that we have here, anything that could expand opportunities there, that's going to be big because people will travel for that.
I'm hoping the people at Estival Festival in Kankakee
Yes.
Catch wind of this, or maybe I'll hit them up in case they haven't heard of this yet, because that's a newer
Yes.
festival. It's only 2 years old.
I was going to say it's only 2 years, yeah.
So this would be perfect for them.
Mm-hmm.
There's 2 phases of the awarding of the grants for 2023.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. So right now, this application period is open through March 15th, and then we will be announcing the awardees March 30th or 31st. I can't remember. Whatever
Okay,
that.
so that's really not that long of a wait.
No. So we'll be getting right on this. So you'll know what you can get accomplished this year then.
And then the second phase would be later this year.
Yes. So that application period will open up in August. And then I believe the applications are due September 15th. And then whatever that last Friday of the month is, we'll be making the awards.
I feel like it's important to kind of get down to what the stipulations are with these grants, what you can use that money for and what you can't use it for, because there are some of those in place?
Yeah, so things like your typical operating costs cannot be grantable. This is something that is above and beyond what you're currently doing because, again, without this grant, maybe you wouldn't be able to do that. So that was the whole point of this. And other than that, I mean, it can't be office space rent, which again would be overhead or anything like that.
That's what do they call that? Reoccurring expenses or something. I am not the most business savvy person here, obviously, but those day-to-day expenses.
The typical expenses. So this is, whatever is going to enhance your current product or project or event or just bring to fruition something brand new.
Visit KankakeeCounty.com to get the application and just to learn more, because there's a lot of information to learn about the grant and if it applies to what you're doing or not.
Correct. Or just email me too, because I can send that directly out to you.
Yeah. So, and your email is?
It's Nicole@kccvb.com.
Okay.
So that's a mouthful. KCCVB.
It is a mouthful, which is why you have Visit Kankakee County, right? Instead. So are you going to be letting people know, even if they don't get the grant? Are you going to say, hey, thank you for your submission, but unfortunately not at this time?
Yes. And we are hoping to give some sort of feedback too, like because you can apply again. So just if you are turned away the first round, that doesn't necessarily mean you can't apply again or
you
for
can
a different
tweak things and resubmit for the September deadline.
Correct.
Well, that's good to know.
And this is something we hope to continue doing annually after this. So, this will continue through the future.
That's amazing. I think that'll really make a big difference in the area.
Sure.
Is because there's so many things that are already in place, but they just need that next step up, or someone has had a tremendous idea for a long time, but they haven't had the funds for it.
Right.
So, and they can finally get the funding through this grant or get some of the funding.
Right.
I want to know, is there anything else going on at the Convention and Visitors Bureau that you want to share?
Sure. Well, we are putting the finishing touches on our next visitor guide. So last year we launched the first one since prior to COVID. So there was a lot of changes. Even up to publication last year, there was you'd find out something new opened or change of location. So we're finishing up this next visitor guide, which we're really excited about. So that should be hopefully out sometime in March, depending on the publication time. And we've got some really fun spring summer campaigns coming up. So
okay. Can you give any details on some of those?
Yeah, sure. So we're going along with the theme, There's Always a Seat for You in Kankakee County. And we are actually partnering with an organization called Carvertise. So we are wrapping Ubers and Lyft cars in the Chicago area, Cook County, Will County, Lake County. And basically, when you're getting an Uber, you're very focused on okay, I'm looking for a Toyota Camry. The license plate is whatever it is. Now they can tell you, look for the Visit Kankakee County cars. So we've got a cool design on there. People sitting in kayaks, horseback riding. So anything where they're seated. So it kind of ties in. There's a seat for you, a seat at our table. And the Uber and Lyft drivers will be very well versed on things to do in Kankakee County. So they have captive audience in the car. Yeah. They can talk to them about things to do here. And we'll have QR codes that'll drive back to our website and a whole digital campaign.
See, that's awesome. I love that. It kind of goes back to our roots. I mean, there are so many historical stories that have been shared on this podcast about how for hundreds of years, people from Chicago have come to vacation in Kankakee County. That was the whole reason they came here. They had summer homes. They would enjoy the river and they would get away from the city life. And I feel like that still translates today. People still do that to this day. I've met so many people from, if they're not from Chicago, they're from one of the suburbs, and they come down to the state park. And they enjoy the state park. Or they come down to something else in Kankakee.
Yeah,
so.
Maybe want to get away from, the hustle and bustle for a little bit.
Yeah, but they don't want to drive 8 hours somewhere. They can just drive an hour and a half, and there they are. They're in beautiful nature.
We all need that. And that's one of of the huge things, especially coming out of COVID. People are definitely looking for outdoor activities, and that was one of the number one travel trends. People are looking for things to do outside.
Yeah,
So,
I mean, day trips are so nice to be able to do, and you can easily just go back home and that kind of thing. Or maybe it's a weekend.
right.
And then you get those overnight stays
Sure.
that you're trying to get
Yeah.
here in the county. So that's awesome. I
Yeah.
love that. And then Keiko. You want
Yes.
to talk about Keiko?
Yes.
There's always something new and exciting with Keiko.
We do. So that is our Keiko, the local exchange, which is our retail store. It's housed within our office. But basically everything in there is either made in Kankakee County or promotes an experience or destination here. So the items you can't buy at another store, it might feature something that one of the artists have in another boutique here or another gallery. It kind of like points them there like, hey, you want to see more of their stuff? Check out this store. So different swag and T-shirts and hoodies and stuff like that. And then cool other items, household items.
Coffee. I know you have coffee from Connect Roasters.
We do.
There.
We've got Connect Roasters. And so that's great. We've got Plockman's mustard. So we carry some of the stuff that isn't some of their special blends. And then like they partnered with Brookstone and did like a Brookstone mustard blend.
Oh, yeah, that's
So we've got
right.
that.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Jimmy Joe's barbecue rub. So kind of points you, go check
Oh.
out some barbecue. Yeah.
Yeah, Jimmy Joe's. You can't go wrong with Jimmy Joe's. I know it's been an ongoing thing with the Village of Bradley pulling out of the Convention and Visitors Bureau. I'm just curious, what are some of the ideas that are being tossed around or thought of right now to kind of replace, I guess, the money of them? Because
Sure.
without Bradley, there is a loss of some funding.
There
right?
is, yes.
So I'm just curious what,
So
did you go...
there are some new legislative bills that have been passed. So now we're just waiting for the governor to sign that. So there are some options, legislatively that we can take advantage of. We're still a huge proponent that we working together is going to help promote the area the best we can. So if we kind of silo ourselves, that just seems to defeat the purpose.
Yes,
So,
absolutely.
I mean, we are one county and there is so much to offer, and it would be negatively impacting the area if we couldn't all work together.
Yeah. Well, I'm happy to hear that there are some things that are being put in place
Yes.
to help kind of make up for that loss. So that's great to hear.
We're actually going to be, that's something I can share too, our
Okay.
internship program. We are going to be finalizing everything for that for the summer, but we typically hire college students to intern with us, and they attend a lot of the different events, kind of acting as a mobile visitor unit out in,
Yeah,
and
when
that's
I
actually-
saw
yeah.
you at the
Rhubarb
Kankakee County Museum's Rhubarb Festival, you had a slew of interns
Yes.
with you, and I'm like, man, that's impressive.
So they're out, and I think that was our first event. So it was,
Yeah, because
getting
that's
them-
in May.
Uh-huh.
So yeah, that probably is about the first event of the year.
We attend all of the different summer events as much as we can and try to share different things to do in the community, especially, the baseball and softball tournaments that are throughout the area. Like, if you've got 3-hour gap between your games, what are you going to do? So we try to help out people and point them in different directions.
And I want to encourage everyone to also visit Kankakee County on on all social platforms
Yes.
that you're on, whether it's Facebook or Instagram. I don't know if you do TikTok too, right?
We are going to be starting TikTok. That
Okay.
is one of our goals for National Travel and Tourism Week, which is in May. So
perfect.
we're working on that. We
But-
need like a full-time social every day, all day.
You really do. But I just want to encourage everyone to follow them on social media of your choice, just because. Is it more than once a week or a couple times a week where you and your staff do short videos of different places that people can go to in the county, whether it's a business or an attraction or whatever, and you can learn about things maybe you didn't realize before?
Right.
And I think it's also important to point out that maybe there's a business or an attraction that you haven't been to yet, and they're thinking, why haven't we been featured? I want to encourage that business just to reach out to you, because it's kind of like news and the media. We don't know everything.
Right.
And if people aren't telling us that these things exist, we don't know.
Right.
And because I think there's stigma attached that, well, if they're not coming to me, then they don't care about it or anything like that, but it's not necessarily that. It's just we don't know everything that's going on.
Right. I mean, we try to stay up on everything, new developments in the county, but there's a lot that happens. So if you can help us out a little bit, we'll help you out.
Exactly. So I just want to encourage everyone to just hit up Nicole or anyone at the Convention and Visitors Bureau and let them know what you're up to, because they might have missed it.
Right.
So, well, Nicole, thank you so much.
Oh my gosh, this was great.
Good. I had a blast.
This was fun.
And everyone go apply for that grant. I'm Jake Lamore. Thank you so much for listening. Kankakee Podcast is proudly presented by Pewter Pros, Stitch Prints, and Digital World Design family of businesses, celebrating 25 years of small business ownership in Kankakee County. You can learn more at mypewterpros.com, stitchprints.com, and digitalworlddesign.com. Also, a special thank you to our patrons for helping make this episode possible, including Don Geisinger, Diana Crowley, Joseph Lamont, Bill Parakis, Lori Crayoch, Karen Bishop, SLS Home Inspections, Seth and Mary Berkey, Jake Lee, Jesse Arsenal, Dave Barron, Veronica Featherston, John Sullivan, Sue Hornung, Samantha Rocknowski, Lake Iverson, Travis Garcia, Jane Bostwick, Dawn Harrison, Simon Topless, Scott Wright, Carrie O'Connell, Jamie Race, Joanne Barry, Anthony Vicelli, Eric Olson, Nolan Bukowski, Natalie Flagel, Carl Earps, Jeff and Rosa Carroll, Teague Dreenan, Sandy and Steve Twait, and Rose Lucky. To become a podcast patron, go to KankakeePodcast.com, then click on the Patron tab. If you pledge $5 or more per month, you'll also hear your name announced on an episode of Kankakee Podcast. There's also access to extended versions of episodes, video versions, and much more. Our theme song was written and performed by Lupe Carroll and recorded by Daniel Bishop.